Players are ready. You can see that he is seed 5 of 54. Going from strength to strength. I was actually speaking about Brian recently to a good friend of mine, Joel Davey, who's also playing today, and Joel was saying that he doesn't even feel Brian has remotely hit his peak yet, the way he's playing, and he's still a young guy as well. I believe he's early 20s. I can't remember exactly. Speak to at all. I have no prior experience of him. As we say, we've been looking him up on Cross Tables, which, if you don't know, is a website where players input their results and their games for others to analyze. So, of course, you're free to go and do that as well.
Brian had a fairly easy decision, I think, on his first rack to play off one of the newer words, Fav. I think that was a fairly clear decision for him. You could change some, including the queue. Or he could choose to play and hope that he'll get some better, which is what he's choosing to do. Yeah,
that does open access to the triple word.
But and hope that he'll draw something like U or I or something, some vowels maybe that can help him play the Q next go. So the other option was maybe he could have changed, but he's decided to take some points and hope it works out better next time. I think either decision would have been, defensible. So it's back to Brian now. And he's set up the word ties, leaving TS at the moment. He's got quite a nice rack. Other possibilities, I mean, Tess, make him begot.
His rack has deteriorated somewhat from his opening lead. He's considering tithe, which I imagine he would play to make BE over on the right-hand side. Alternatively, he's separated out 2 of those 3 T's. Probably just if there's any way of playing them off for a remotely.
Yeah.
The go, of course, also does take a lovely back T to make begot. One of those hooks that can be quite easy to miss just because in your head you're changing the pronunciation of that O, so it can be not automatic to see hooks like that. But of course, a player of Brian's
Yes, well, I
caliber,
suspect
that kind of hooking is just instinctive. So I'm sure he's already spotted that.
Yes, I mean, I suspect he will be using that big O hook, whichever he decides to play.
He's taking his time here, which is understandable. It's also worth pointing out to viewers, if you've not played on stream before, it can be quite nerve-wracking, especially as this is game one of the tournament. There's going to be some nerves there for sure. So Brian just taking his time, paying due diligence to the situation, making sure he makes the correct play. Wish of you joining us. Hello to Chris Hawkins. Who I also see in the chat. Hello, Natalie, and hello, everyone else. And Zachary has replied, to the right of the go. And we see in his draw that he's still holding onto that Q, and he's now triplicated his R. I really do think we're probably going to see a change from Zachary next turn. The moves coming thick and fast at the moment. Brian dumping off a U, which Zachary, of course, would sorely like to see on his own rack. With just another holding play, keeping a nice leave. And we move back to Zachary at whip. And I really do think at this point he's going to be changing. Yes, as expected, Zachary has changed out of that Q and triplicate R, keeping E and R, which looks to me to be the correct decision. And Brian continuing with the holding plays. He's played high for 18, keeping EIST, and that is a hell of a change for Zachary. He's going to be bingoing here. It's just a case of what he is going to opt for. He'll probably take some time here, cycling through the blanks, because this board is actually quite closed at this point. So after a bingo, Zachary has the opportunity with this bingo to really close things up and take a solid lead and force Brian to potentially take another low-scoring move in order to open it up. So very much advantage Zachary at this point. Natalie in the chat is suggesting Zachary may have just kept ER as opposed to ERN. And just projecting forward slightly to Brian, we see he himself has drawn into a bingo, which is going to play in 2 places, so he'll be pleased to see that. Zachary has gone ahead and played Ladrone, making his blank an O. And Brian is sitting on Kilties, which plays in spots. Just so the audience is aware as well, our co-commentator Mike Chappell will be rejoining us at some point. Yeah, as I said, this is quite new to us, so there may be some technical hitches along the way. There shouldn't be anything drastic. Viewing experience. Speaking of which, I'm doing some by Zachary's score, and we see that has now gone. So yeah, we're doing a lot of this stuff on the fly, folks. I'll be transparent with you. But a lot of you know that the work that's gone into the behind the scenes here. And yeah, we continue endeavoring to make this as good a stream as possible. And it looks like we are rejoined by Mike. Mike, just before I bring you back in, I'm just going to say it looks like Brian has not immediately spotted Kilty, which is interesting. Well, he will have spotted it, but maybe he's questioning whether it's good. But yeah, Mike, go ahead. Seems I've lost Mike again. It's not a problem. So as I was saying, Brian hasn't immediately slapped down Kilties. And if you're new to Scrabble, often players telegraph what they're thinking by the way they line up the tiles on their rack. And I haven't seen Brian do that with Kilties. So it's done. Just to catch up on the action, Brian has gone ahead and played Dyke, so obviously wasn't 100% sure on Kilties, which is perfectly understandable. And we move back to Zachary, who's drawn into the X. Again, guys, just full transparency for the audience. We will be commentating more shortly. It's just that currently we are just having some tech issues, and I'm also having to communicate with the producers behind the scenes, keeping on top of the action as well. I'm just working to bring my co-commentator back in, and I'm liaising with the production team. These are just some teething issues, which were probably inevitable. And no doubt we will iron these out as we continue over this 3-day extravaganza. So do bear with, folks. In the meantime, meantime, I see Zachary has played Oxim, making Gorm, which is a beautiful find. Mike, I believe you are back with us.
Well, do you hear me now?
Yes, Mike. Yeah, have you been following the action?
I've been trying to as well as I can. So we see. Could you update me with the current scores?
Yes. So Zachary is leading 171 to 79.
Oh, okay. I can see that then. Okay. I wasn't
In
sure
light
of the
of
scores
that,
I could see. I
bingo,
wasn't sure of the scores I could see were the correct
which,
ones.
as I alluded to, he's managed to close off the board. Yeah. And as I said, Brian then had to go ahead and open up. But he did manage to score well with the K in doing so.
Yes, okay. So Zachary has got good right with too many eyes then, hasn't he? And the J, so he'll be looking to do something maybe to get rid of the eyes and maybe to play off the J as well if he can. Roji or something like that. Near Clint. What do you think? Any other suggestions? It's a tricky one, maybe.
It is, yeah.
He's got Roji lined up somewhere. Maybe making HI. That looks good. Yeah, it looks the best place to play Roji under the H of HIE. That would be a good move. As I said, does the things that he needs to, gets rid of at least one eye. He'd probably like to get rid of more than one eye, but getting rid of one eye and the J and scoring reasonably, it does make a nice scoring spot for Brian, but it's probably the best he can do. Brian's got some nice tiles, some interesting tiles. He's got the Q and the U and an I and an S and a blank, so he could get a good score with the Q here, maybe. Maybe he'd like to score well. What he'd like to do here probably is score well with the Q and then save the blank for next time, if he's able to do that. He could maybe under something under Roji, if that's possible. But he's looking at a shorter word maybe, and hoping for a bonus with the Q. Yeah, play just the W and hope for a big bonus with the Q rather than. So that's another strategy. I was suggesting playing off the Q this time and then hoping for a bonus next time. But Brian has opted to hope to try and get a big bonus with the Q, which is quite likely with the letters he's got. So that makes sense. So back to Zachary, who has decent rank, still has double I's, but not bad letters. And he's in, of course, he's in pole position in this game. So
Sorry about that, folks. I was just working with Dutch team. Thanks for taking the rein.
maybe he'll try and play under the OW, that the W that Brian just played. Something under there. Getting rid of it. I'd say something like the word peace, maybe PIECE. Get rid of a few of his tiles, I think. He wants to play off a few here on this turn. He's also thinking about being a bit defensive maybe if he can, as he's got a bit of a lead. So he'll be thinking about that. Yeah, he could play something like Epicool as well, higher up, but that would be very open. He probably doesn't want to do that onto the L of Clint, but that would be a bit too open, I think, given that he's worried that, as we've just said, he's going to be worried that Brian is thinking about a bonus, so he doesn't want to particularly create another lane. Although you could say it doesn't matter too much on this board because there are so many openings anyway that you can't defend them all under OW and NE under NE or through the E of Dyke. So there's a lot of places he knows he can't defend them all, so he might not be too
just to be Aaron.
Too obsessed with defence on this move. He may just decide to balance his rack.
Asynchronization between me and Mike and the stream and what you're seeing. Again, this is just all very new to us.
Think about this one. He's probably because, as I say, he's worried that
a lot of moving parts.
What Brian just played, just one W.
And we all know what it's like with Wi-Fi issues, etc. But from what I can see in the chat, at least, you're following the action well enough.
And of course, he's right to be worried. If we look at what what Brian's actually got, which we'll come back to in a moment. But Brian has drawn very well when it comes to when it does come to Brian's turn, and he's looking at a couple of possible bonuses, I think. Okay, Pieta he's considering now, maybe under the OW or under the E of under the NE. Under the OW looks better, maybe. Score slightly more points, and also yeah, and I think that would be the only real reason. Pieta under NE would also open up a triple lane, but not a very scary one. But Pieta's a good choice, leaving if he's going. As I said, he wanted to play probably a few tiles this move, about 5. Something like Pieta would do the job. Leave IC. Yeah, Pieta under OW, as we thought. Looks a solid move. Leaving that A above a triple letter score is not so scary when the X has already been played. So over to Brian, he's got possible words like fakirs or marquis or something like that, or onto the L, squarial, a nice word. Now onto the L of Clint. So he's got some. Okay, he's gone for another one. He's gone for Dakiris. Okay, through the eye of Clint. But he had a few bonus options there. That looks like one of the best ones. So scoring a lot of points there. Nice to get a Q bonus down. So is this being challenged? Looks like it's a challenge here because it's a high scoring word and may have a slight doubt about the correct spelling of Dakiri. But at any rate, it's been challenged, but it's good. So it'll be 5 extra points for Brian. So he's almost caught up now. And well, Zachary's still not got a great rack. Not awful, but not great either. He's got 2 I's still. He's got a G, which is G and a C, which don't go very well together. G is a bit of an awkward letter, so slightly awkward. So he's got to decide what to do here now. He's the game situation is slightly different now because he's no longer like defending a big lead, but he'll be thinking about again trying to get rid of play off a few tiles here and improve his rack a bit. But it's hard to see anything very any kind of massive scores here. He could play if he uses that A of Pieta, play something like Magic. That would score nicely. It would open up a triple word score at the bottom, but it wouldn't be terribly dangerous. He has lining up the word magic. That could also play under any making neg, that it would score a bit less there, I think. About 25. It would score more under Pieta, but it'd be let's say slightly more risky, but not the most dangerous opening to make. I think I would probably play it down the bottom and using that A of Pieta, and that's what he's going to do. Yeah, he's going to play magic there. The C, of course, the C acts as a bit of a blocker for words extending to the right of that triple word score. So I think that was the best thing to do there. Leaving himself with IP and hopefully some good tiles next time. And Brian's rather consonant, 6 consonants and double D's. You'd be thinking I don't think he can do much to exploit that triple that was just opened. So he's looking at maybe the letters he'd like to get rid of, the O, D, D, B. Okay, he can. That's probably the best. That's the best he can do with that triple. He did want to use it, maybe as it was in case Zachary had the right letters to play under there. So Bod looks like a good move. Undouble his D's. Still leaves himself with 4 consonants, but hoping to get a vowel. There's still plenty of vowels in there. Hoping to get a vowel next time. And meanwhile, Zachary, again, not bad letters, but he's got some tiles to score with those, especially the Y, with something like grey at the top, maybe, or just GEY. He's got an S, of course, which is nice. So he'll be hoping to move towards something something good before long. He knows at least he's still got a bit of a lead, so he's still in a good position in this game. If he had an O, he would have pyroges, but nothing like that at the moment. So probably just looking to, if he played off, if he could play off 2 or 3 tiles, he would have a promising rack here. He could just play GUY guy through the U of Dakiris, leaving himself with very PIRES if he wants to play that way. Or he could just try and look for the highest score he can get for now. So he's lined up Gay maybe above Zachary's, I think. Yeah, that looks like a good move. Even himself promised it nice letters, scoring reasonably. Also, I suppose defending that area at the top a little bit, meaning that Brian would have to have an S probably, wouldn't he, to use that if he made ED and Ed into Kiri's. As it happens, Brian has got an S, but oh no, he's playing down there. Okay, making Yao. Maybe a higher scorer, maybe a bit more solid move. So same idea though. Brian's got some nice letters, but the Y is the more awkward one. But he does have a 7-letter word. Does it play? Deister does play, does it? No, don't think it does. It doesn't quite play at the top, does it? Because RA isn't a word. If he had a bonus, he'd probably be getting it down already. Knowing Brian, I'm sure he'd see anything he did have. So Deister, D-Y-E-S-T-R, is the bonus on his rack, but didn't go down. So he just played a decent score, Yerd, and lifted himself with a nice EST, hoping for something good next time. So we're over to Zachary now, who's got an S, but some slightly vowel, too many vowels maybe to go with it. A-A-I-U. So he's got to think about how to play off some of those maybe. Again, he could play some kind of easier place. You could try and play something. There's not much down the side of Yerd, I don't think, because he hasn't got anything that took on the end of EE. Or even he hasn't got an E to go after the R either, has he? So maybe at the top somewhere. No, he's lined up Hour. I'm not sure where he's thinking of playing that. But not Power. Okay, so at least he reaches a double and gets a decent score. Yeah. And that does also defend that top area. It makes it a bit harder for Brian to get a bonus down there, doesn't it? Because now he would that DA only an O would go in front of that, wouldn't it? So that's a good move, good defensive move, I think, as well as balancing his rack. And we'll go over to Brian, but you can see he has drawn rather nicely for his next move. But Brian's got, again, almost a very good rack in terms of bonuses, but with the V makes it slightly awkward. And it's getting harder on this board. Spaces to get down a bonus are. He doesn't necessarily need a bonus to win, of course. He's only about 27 behind, isn't he? So he's in that kind of area where he'd be thinking a bonus would be great, but I might be able to win without one if he can think some way. It's getting harder, as I say. The spaces to get a bonus down are disappearing rapidly, I think, aren't they? So Brian might well be in trouble because unless he decides to block that area, but he's slightly behind, so he probably might not be thinking of blocking, just trying to score what he can. Score if he could, as you say, he might be thinking he could still got a chance of winning without a bonus. He's looking at playing it under Pieter, I think, Vets, and just getting a good score. That's a high scoring move, so it'll put him temporarily level or ahead, but he's about to be hit, I think, with a bonus from Zachary. So it looks looking good for Zachary this one, assuming that he sees his bonus, which is not a difficult one as long as he looks in the right place, I think. Near side as well, but Dennery's will be slightly safer, I suppose, not taking an S hook. Any other possibilities? No, he's got it. No, he's got it lined up. I think he's got Dennery's lined up. So, yeah, there we go. And meanwhile, Brian's got rather awkward. So this is not looking good for Brian this game now. Going to be a bonus down with awkward letters. And how many tiles remaining? There's running a bit low, isn't it? Coming down to the last part of the game, really. So it's not looking good for Brian. There's still some decent letters left. We'll see what Zachary's drawn. It's only, is it 4 in the bag, is it? After, at this moment, I think. Yeah, and looking at what Zachary's just drawn, Zachary's just drawn most of the remaining good tiles, I think. So the S and the Z, the S and the Z. So yeah, but from Brian's viewpoint, what he'll be thinking is 4 in the bag. He's got to just play off some vowels, maybe try and set up a place for a bonus if he can. It's very tricky. So it's a tricky move for him. He's just got to do the best he can. Just as I say, play off 3 or 4, I suppose, and also, if possible, create another opening. But that's not easy to do. Maybe something under power. Or above. He's got an O, so he could play above, make ODA. That might be the best idea. Or is he looking at just playing off an O? I'm sure he'd be thinking through the possible bonuses in his head, and he's capable of working them out, like what bonuses he could draw. Of course, we're also aware of what Zachary has on his rack, which makes a difference. But yeah, OE, that would be because that also scores at least a few points. But yeah, as I say, you could also try. Well, if he was going to play ODA at the top, he'd have to hope for the S for Soda, I suppose. Apart from that, it's quite difficult for him to. Quite difficult for him, isn't it, to do much here? So a tricky position. He's just got to work out which is the most likely. What bonuses he could possibly pick up with the remaining letters and where they might play, and just try and do his best with that. If there are any, if it sounds at all strange to the audience, it might be because you haven't been hearing Joseph for a bit. But anyway, hopefully you're following and enjoying the match as it is. Still an interesting game, though. As I say, it's probably seems to be likely to be going Zachary's way, but Brian's still fighting, as we would expect. Trying to work out which move gives him the best possible option of getting a bonus and getting back into the game. I think it would have to be a bonus. There is, though he might consider scoring high with the Z as well. If there were any great spots for that, there's a there's like a ZA on the right, but it could only score 31 next to Deneries because it can't be doubled going both ways, as far as I can see. So yeah, I'm not sure what he's looking at now. He's still making his calculations, thinking what possible bonuses could I get. There are still some nice tiles, AE, NST, I, and but and he'd still be considering if he might be able to do something with the Z as well, as we said. So, but mainly he'll be thinking about trying to get a bonus, at least what move gives him the highest percentage chance of doing that. He knows that the odds are against him, but he's still got a few minutes. At least both players have managed their time fairly well in this game. So this is why it's good to leave yourself a bit of time for the end game when you might have to make some tricky calculations. And Brian's left himself the time to do that. Zachary will probably have a slightly easier move when it comes to his turn, but he's also got a bit of time left, over 3 minutes. And Brian is someone who would be very good at calculating this kind of position, I think, as well as accurately as he could. Not rushing into anything, but just giving him, as I say, working out which is the move that gives him a chance of at least drawing a bonus, or maybe even having ideally getting a bonus in that could play in more than one place. But, as we said, there are not many options on this board. It's under power, and as he has an O above the D of Dakiris, and onto the Sea of Clint. But so, as I said, with the nice letters remaining in the bag, with the bonus letters remaining in the bag, he might still have a hope of trying to draw a bonus. But in reality, it's not going to be so good, because he's going to be drawing something like an F or an I. Fi and L, I think, are left in there, aren't they? And another N. He's going to be drawing from the actual bag is FILN, which isn't that helpful. But this is a long tournament, so Brian will have plenty of time to come back as one of the higher seeds for this tournament. There's 24 games over 3 days, and we're going to be commentating on that the whole way on this channel. I'll only be here for this morning. We would do up until lunch, and you have other commentators for this afternoon and the other days. Some of the UK's top players we've got commentating, and then for the final games on the final day, we've got a special treat with Josh Sokol, one of the US's top players, will be playing in the final games. Okay, so Brian decided to play up just an O. So Brian decided just to play off an O. He decided that gave him the best chance, and the place to score the most with the O was with Jot and Woe. So that gave him, at least he scored a few points. He's probably thinking it might be within range if he drew the Z of winning without a bonus. If he drew the Z and was able to do something good with it, but in fact he hasn't had a great draw, as we didn't think he would, because we'd already seen what was on Zachary's rack. So yeah, places for Zachary to score. No, he could just play ZA for 31, I suppose. Leave one in the bag. That's a possible. Just so he'd probably be calculating that Brian can't really have a bonus here, or it's unlikely, but he might be uncertain. That could be one strategy: score 31 and leave one in the bag for safety. But maybe there's a better score that you can get now that would put him out of reach. He could play Zeta and PA, but that's not a massive score, is it? 36. Apart from that, he's setting up. Maybe he's thinking of playing Zeta down to the A of power, because he's just got ZET. Because that might be a bit of a blocking move, although it would also leave an open E. Okay, so on wireless, yeah. So leave a nice ANST on his rack. Maybe he's thinking he might be able to go out with a bonus himself with the last couple. He scored enough to score 30 points, so put himself fairly safe unless Brian went out with a bonus. But I think he's probably worked out that that's not going to happen with the remaining tiles. And in fact, he's got a bonus rack himself. I'm not sure if one, there's quite a few anagrams. I'm not sure if one, I think currently entails does go down, doesn't it? Always. So yeah, Zachary's going to play a bonus, and that'll be the end of this game. He's got very little time left, down to his last few seconds. But he's going to get a bonus down anyway, and as I say, that will be game to Zachary. So yeah, it's been it was a close game for a lot. Zachary got off to a good lead, but Brian came back with Dakiris. But then in the last part of the game, Zachary, I suppose, drew slightly nicer tiles with getting bonuses like Denaries and 10 ales down. So Brian wasn't able to come back. He didn't have good enough tiles to be able to come back, and in the end, it looks like a more comfortable win than maybe it actually was. With that final bonus going down, it looks like a very big win for Zachary. But for most of the game, as I say, it was pretty close. I think both players played well.